Welcome back to Games Revealed. I'm James and also Brink, and we are one community. Today, I want to talk about something that I've been playing around with for the past few months, partially because I've been sick and I haven't been able to get to it till now, but it gives me longer time to play with it, give you better advice on it, and that is the Legion Go from Lenovo. And this device, I was super excited for. I know you got to be careful being too excited for devices these days, but I was pretty excited for it, and it's been nothing but a disappointment for the most part. The screen is beautiful, but it's just we'll get into it first with all that's wrong, and then we'll go into what's right, and then I'll do recommendations and stuff like that, because I do think people should buy this, and people are enjoying it in the community. I just, as an overall, prepared to be disappointed. With that, make sure to like, subscribe, bash that bell with your crowbar if you can. That'd be awesome. Now let's get into it. First up, what is wrong with it? We're going to go through this in just a very unorganized list. The speakers, the sound coming from it. It is top facing, and I have the device right here. It is top facing. You'll see right here, the speakers are something to be desired. The Neo devices have downward facing speakers, which are atrocious, at least in the past devices that I've had in 2022. 2023, I haven't had an Neo device yet, so I can't tell you how it is compared to this, but it's very quiet. The sound isn't horrible, but it's very tunnely. It doesn't have a lot of bass. It's not very robust. Where with the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally, they are very, for the size, very boisterous. Like they have that bass and everything to it as much as they can for their size. Sounds like good speakers. With this, it sounds like a phone speaker, and not a phone from the newer generations, a phone from a couple of years ago. It just isn't great. And honestly, I get it with the way that they did this design. There are ways to do the speakers different. They can do under the screen speakers. That's a lot of devices can do that, or I've done that in the past. There's ways to do it. They didn't choose that route. I'm sure it was just much easier and cheaper to do it the route they did. They were hitting a price point. I'm not going to knock them fully for the sound, as you can use headphones and everything like that. It's just, compared to the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally, they do it so much better. Then, the part that I was a little concerned about, and the thing I'm most excited for, are the controllers. They're detachable. Awesome. Well, they're not very comfortable. If you look at this edge right here, it rounds, but it doesn't round enough. So you set it in your palm, and it can hurt, and especially after a couple of hours, it can really start to hurt. It's not a very fun long-term device. With that, the button layout is kind of bad. It's because there are main buttons in the top left and right corners, which is fine, but I like how the ROG Ally does it, where they have the select and start also next up there, where I'm used to hitting up there for start and select with the Steam Deck and also with the ROG Ally. With this, it made me have to train it a little bit more and go down here. Not an ultimate mark against it, but the D-pad is atrocious. Like it's one of the worst D-pads I've used on a handheld, and it might even beat the GPU Win Max 2 that I had. This is not a good D-pad. All the rest of the control, like the sticks, everything else feels fine. The precision, or when you're using this, the joysticks, they don't seem to. There's more of a delay than the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck, and it could be because maybe there's more of a wireless hookup, or I don't know. I don't fully know. I have a feeling that like when you detach it, it goes wireless. When you have it attached, it should be wired during the use. But it doesn't make sense why there's more of a delay with the joystick. It just could be a bad joystick or bus controller on that. We've talked about the buttons. Now let's talk about the software. It is bad. It is slow. Like right here, let's see. It did have time to cache, meaning it's in the RAM potentially. Let's click on this menu, the quick access menu. Yeah, the first time I clicked it twice, never opened. Now that it's a little bit like it then got registered into the RAM, and it's kind of cached, which often is a thing that can happen with devices. See, it still is pretty slow compared to Steam Deck or the ROG Ally, but once it gets going, it's kind of smooth. Unfortunately, with this menu right here, using it inside of a game, it doesn't disable the controls for the game. So when you're selecting stuff in here with the controller, it will also go through and select stuff in the game and quit out. I've had it quit out of a game before because I was trying to select and I wasn't paying attention to the game. As games, sometimes when they're paused, items move on it. I went through the items and I quit out of the game when I selected my stuff. This is not the original menu that I started out with. They've updated the quick access menu for the performances and everything. They've made it much easier to activate the full speed mode, and you can see it go. That's another thing. It shuts off the screen, and I know I can go disable that, but it shuts it off too soon. To re-enable it can take half a minute to. I've had it to where I've pressed everything and it wouldn't go back up. And this is a known issue in Windows, and usually it revolves around bad drivers for the hardware to Windows interface. I don't know if it's more on Microsoft's side, more on the hardware maker side. I have a feeling it's both. ROG Ally doesn't have this issue though. ROG Ally is a very slick device when it comes to Windows gaming handhelds. I really like that device. If it had a bigger screen, I wouldn't even be recommending anything about this device. Then you have the other one, which is like the library, the Play Store and everything. You see that click? It takes about 5-6 seconds. Click it off. Now that it's cached, it should go a little faster. You can access your library, you can access store stuff, you can access a lot of different things from here, but the biggest thing it just feels like is it's a shop to sell you stuff. It's like, oh, hey, look, this stuff you can buy that works on the Legion Go, which is okay. I'm not against it. I just don't want a Lenovo store or anything like that. I don't want to deal with all that crap. Settings are also in here, so if you need to go and change things like display, all that without accessing the quick access menu, it's there. It's okay. It's very much Steam-esque. They took a page out of Steam's book, which is fine. My software I built does the same. It just seems very lacking in comparison. Like updating the drivers, like sometimes you have to restart the device. Then when the software launches, it will then update it. Sometimes it doesn't. It will check for updates. Sometimes you have to go manually do it by going into the website, which once again, this is coming down to the software. Software, the drivers, everything about it, bad. Comparative to the experience I've had with the ROG Ally. The ROG Ally software is amazing so far. It has its, and that's the thing, it has some issues, but they're easily overlooked, especially when you use a device like Legion Go. I want to love this device, so I still do like it, but with the bad drivers, the bad software, comes bad gaming experience. Not only because the performance isn't as good as the ROG Ally, and they just had a new update, and I tried it out, and I've had mixed people talk to me from the community, say, hey, maybe you need to return it and get a new device. Maybe this one's not working. Another person's mentioned that, hey, it is working properly. Don't return it yet. And I'm on the fence, and honestly, I think I'm going to contact Best Buy and see if I can get it swapped out, and I'll do another update on this in the future. But for now, this device is just underperforming by like 30% compared to the ROG Ally, and it must be getting bottlenecked really hard somewhere. It just is all over the place. On top of that, with the drivers, with the BIOS, you have to go in, and I think they've changed this recently potentially, and they've also added more options recently, but when you first started out, it would start with 3 gigs of VRAM, which is not enough if you're trying to play modern games. The ROG Ally, I believe, starts out at 4 or 6. I can't remember if they have a dynamic VRAM too with that. 3 gigs is not enough, typically. Now, the problem is, and this is the problem with every handheld device right now, 16 gigs is not enough for sharing between the system and the video. So the VRAM and the system RAM, it's not enough. 16 gigs isn't enough. I'm telling you right now, guys. Big part of the bottleneck for the ROG Ally and the Legion Go is in that RAM department. I would be able to get better performance and better textures. Like, it would look better if I had more VRAM. VRAM is going to ultimately be able to store larger textures in it, right? And so with the larger textures, gets more detail. You're going to get a better looking game. This is a part that kind of, it's just, and maybe it's hard to get like 24 gigs in there. I mean, 32 gigs, price cutting everywhere, right? It's just with that price cut, it really does feel like it hurts the device. It's difficult to say what part of this they need to fix for performance, because the ROG Ally suffers from a lot of it. But right now you can select 3, 4, They added 6 and 8 gigs of VRAM. 8 gigs of VRAM is going to starve the system RAM, and you can debloat, and I'm going to get debloater. That's another problem with this, is that it's more bloated than ROG Ally, but you can get a debloater for Windows and get rid of a lot of services that are installed. It will help with performance, and it'll help with RAM and consumption of RAM, services eating too much RAM. With devices like this, console-like devices, you really got to be very slim on that RAM to get consistent performance. So you've seen the quick access menus. You've seen how like they're, I mean, and it just doesn't, like you try to get it to go, like this usually on a handheld device indicates that its screen's turned off, but it's not fully asleep. And to get this going, it doesn't. Once again, software. But once they fix this, and I've heard that they're fixing it time and time again, we'll see. Because I've been promised better performance, and I've yet to see it in the sense of ROG level performance. You can set the resolution to lower. I set it to everything that the ROG is set to. The ROG is a 1080p screen, where an equivalence in some ways on this is a 1200p screen, and then this can go up to a 1400, I believe, or 1440 or something like that. It is a 16 by 10 ratio, or maybe, no, it's a 1600p, sorry, because it's a 16 by 10 ratio screen. It's similar to the Steam Deck, which is cool, and I want higher resolution. I want the resolution of the main device to be probably around a 1200p, and I want my resolution set to around an 800p or a little lower in the games, because then FSR can upscale. Upscaling is becoming more and more of a big deal, and on handhelds, it's an amazing deal, and it's a thing that I think people miss out on the most. They think, oh, well, Steam Deck, that's the perfect resolution. It's not. You want a little bit more resolution, and then you want to upscale it. It does eat into your battery, but the fidelity is just, that's one of the things I won't play certain games on my handheld, even though they'll perform okay, because the fidelity isn't quite there. You can't read the text quite right. On this or the GPD Win Max 2 with the bigger screens, or even with the ROG Ally with the higher resolution, I can read the text better. So there's a lot to digest. There's a lot there to just complain about. Let's get into what's right about it. The 8.4 inch, which I believe that's what it is, you can correct me if I'm wrong, screen is beautiful. It's a really good one, and in comparison, the ROG Ally and the Legion Go compared to the OLED Steam Deck doesn't beat it fully, but that resolution, the big screen does. In my opinion, if you're going to fight the Steam Deck against the Legion Go is going to win. The higher resolution, the bigger screen, just I can read stuff better. I can see things better. The OLED is nice, but a good LCD screen can semi-compete with an OLED. I wouldn't say fully, obviously, but it can, in my book. Next up, the APU is great in the sense of they have the Z1 Extreme in there, the same as the ROG Ally. It just doesn't perform as well as the ROG Ally, which is sad. They need to fix that. Then the FPS mode that they have with it, which, you know, you can detach the controller and you can enter it with this little button, and you have the little device right here that then slides across the table and is ergonomically awesome. Like, it should be maybe a standard on this device. With that, because you can detach the controllers, you have the kickstand, which is also awesome. Another great win for this is this kickstand. I love it. It's like a tablet. If you've ever had a Windows tablet, they have these hinges right here that are very robust. It's a little flimsy, but that's fine. You can't make it perfect. It's better than the switches and a bunch of other devices. But yeah, it's good. I like this flat design. I like the way that they went with this. It's very smart. And it makes it so that you can have the controllers separate, play from a distance. Let's say if you're at a hotel room, people forget about this. If you're traveling, you hook this up to the TV. You don't want to be at the TV and playing. You want to detach your controllers and play from a distance. The problem is that they don't have an insert. So you can't like insert it. You know how the Switch has the connector for the controllers? This doesn't have that. You can 3D print one. There's places you can buy them, but it's a little unfortunate. Even a cardboard would be nice. Or downgrading maybe the case to get something like that, but the case is nice. We'll get into the case here in a sec. As far as the device, this is the best feature of it, is this FPS mode. And the problem is that while I love this, you can't sell me with this alone. If the device doesn't function properly or is performant enough, you can't sell me on this. I can carry around a mouse. A mouse is not that big. some of the mice that I have for carrying. I can hook it up to my Steam Deck or wherever I want, and I can have a mouse and keyboard potentially. Yeah, it adds more bulk, but that's going to be, for me, an easier experience than this right here. While this is a cool experience, it's fun to play FPSs this way, I have other means to do it on my other devices if I need to. The 2-slot USB is awesome. So you have a USB up here, and you have a USB down here. This one is accessible from the case, and let's just talk about the case, I guess, real quick, and we'll get back into these ports. The case comes with the FPS Mode divot, so you can put your FPS Mode pad in there. And it's cool that it comes with one. The ROG Ally does not. The ROG Ally right now is much cheaper to get than this. Then you have this flap right here to charge it. I know some people don't like that, but you can, in the sense of like close it, charge it, and everything like that. If you have it off, you're not going to have any issues overheating it as long as you have it off. If you have it on, I wouldn't trust the Legion Go, and I have yet to trust it, from plugging it and turning it on and then somehow getting some type of process going and heating up the device. Now, these devices have heat safeties built in, meaning they will shut down or shut off completely if it overheats to a certain point. Do you want to trust that? I don't trust the software on this to do that properly. Even though it's supposed to be pretty robust, I've yet to have a device really overheat and break unless I'm overclocking it, and that was decades ago. So, the case is awesome. Honestly, I think even Valve could take a page from this book. With their new case, it's pretty good. And it has the detachable piece to make it more portable. But it would be nice to have a charger port in it. I kind of see why they didn't. They don't want people to overheat it or just like screw around then overheat. You know, there's just liability issues, I'm sure. But yes, the 2 USB-C slots are awesome. It has the SD card, just like everything else. It's by the fan, but I have yet to hear any problems, meaning like by the heat and everything, where overheating an SD card is what kills the ROG's SD cards. This one, I haven't heard any issues yet. I have used it a little bit, but honestly, I have the 1 terabyte and haven't had to do too much. It's got a headphone jack. It's got the fan. It's got an exhaust just like the Steam Deck with, I believe, 2 fans on the back. And so it might be just 1 fan, but it has a pretty robust area for intake of air, which is nice. When you hear how loud it can get, which we'll talk about things and I'll let you hear that in a second, there's a little bit of a downside, but I'd rather have the option to do it and get better performance than to not have the option, I'll be honest. I think some people, let's see. Yeah, let's give you guys, you hear that. Steam Deck would get about this loud at one point, but they've really adjusted things and improved with better fans, I think. It's pretty loud, though. Sometimes the Steam Deck beats this device in some metrics, so it's bizarre. We've talked about the options, too, a little bit, but another one that people forget is that you could hook up a USB 4 external GPU to this thing and get better performance. I'm a little worried about that, partially because the CPU, APU, and the performance are already there. I'm going to look into this further in the future. I'm going to get an eGPU and do much more testing in the future when I get the chance. So keep an eye out for that. But for now, I just got to know the options there. People have done it, and it's nice and all. So we've gone through what's wrong, what's right. I do like the screen, like I've mentioned. I do like the experience to a point, but little things that do hurt it, but it's the software. But even now to this day, the software still is much worse than the ROG Ally. I don't know. And what I'm going to do with the device is I'm going to continue playing around with it, wait for updates. Hopefully it improves into 2024 and it will just be the best device out there for big screen. Okay, I'm going to keep it for now and see if I can get it working better. Might swap it. I'll update you guys later if anything updates on that. But with my device, none of the, I don't have any artifacts on the screen. I don't have any true indicators that my GPU or APU is not working properly, except for performance is just all over the board. What should you do? So if you're watching this, what do I recommend you do? If you want a bigger screen, you don't mind dealing with not perfect system, because it will play like this. The games the Steam Deck plays, this will play fine. But if you're planning on playing bigger, better games like the ROG Ally, the experience has just been so inconsistent, I can't recommend it for the newer games. When they iron out all the bugs, then it should be on par with the ROG Ally. The battery is okay. I'm surprised it gets similar battery life as the ROG Ally. It has a bigger battery. Another thing is that you should go with this if you don't mind tweaking it, if you don't mind messing around with it, and you want just more options, because it has the 2 USB-Cs. It's going to be a better desktop replacement, and there's just a lot to it that is going to be better than ROG Ally, than the Steam Deck for desktop and whatnot, because it has more options with it. Traveling maybe too, where you don't want to carry a lot of controllers, a lot of extra accessories. This kind of has a lot of stuff built into it, so that's nice. The only thing it doesn't have is that keyboard if you want to truly do a PC FPS mode thing. But having the FPS mode controller almost like a mouse, and then having a controller for navigating is really nice, actually. I like it. I like using for like walking and stuff like that with the left controller. I do like using that more than the keyboard, so that combo is kind of sweet. I like that. Now, alternatively, if you don't want to risk it with this device, go with the ROG Ally. It has better performance than the deck and this device, and it is all around a very slick device. It's just that screen, for me, after playing with both, it's hard to go back to the ROG Ally for the screen. But the performance, because I can actually play a game, it's no-brainer for me. It's just hard to go back from a bigger screen sometimes. Honestly, I've been playing the OLED the most lately. I've really liked that device, and I'll do a review on that later. So with that, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of this. I know it's a little bit of a longer take on a hardware review, or this isn't even a hardware review. This is like an overview of my experiences with this, which pretty much is a review. I've spent a lot of time with this over the past 2 months, and I gotta say, interesting device, missed the mark, but I'm really excited for the future for it. I just don't expect a lot when you buy it, and just, you already know what's wrong with it, what's right with it. You still might, like, a lot of people are liking it, so you might be in that camp, you might not be. With that, let me know in the comments below. Is this something you're going to buy, something that's on your list, something that you're interested in, or what device are you sticking with? What device do you want? Let me know in those comments. I want to know. And I'll pin the top comment so your voice is heard. Also, check out my description below. All the goodies are there, including coffees, places where the hardware I recommend to buy. I have lists down there. I have everything down there, so go down there and check it out. Thank you guys for watching. Check out my other videos, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out. Later.